Well, we've been here for about 2 years now, and we came from the city, not knowing anything about septic systems. So we didn't discuss this during our negotiations and buying the property. It's just something that we didn't think about because, like I said, we never had a septic system. We were always on city water. But apparently, you got to flush these things out every 3 to 5 years. And I don't know when the previous owners, last time they did that, if they did it at all, but we had a serious backup into the house and we didn't know what was wrong. Toilets weren't working. It wasn't flushing. And so I had these guys come out initially to see what was going on. And they came out with this small excavator here to lift up the lid and look down in there. And sure enough, it was not flowing out to the leach field as it should. And they came to the conclusion that the leach field was not doing its job because it was plugged up. Plus the fact that the tank hasn't been flushed in who knows how long. They did say that the system itself was very old, so that could be a contributing factor as well. So he's digging here just past the entrance or the lid to the septic tank to see if there's any baffle problems or issues there. Excuse me. And there was, the baffle was broke. And I said, well, so what do we do here? And he said, well, like I said, he said the system out into the fields was plugged. The stuff wasn't leaching out as it should because, you know, for whatever reason. And so I said, well, give me a bid, give me a price. Obviously, I need to get this fixed and corrected if we're going to stay here for any length of time. And I certainly didn't want to go through the nightmare of it backing up into the toilets like we just went through. They did tell me that a permit is required for this. The county needs to come out and assess the field and what we got going, how many people live in the house, how many feet of leach they need, you know, all that kind of stuff, which is fine with me. And it was like $100. And the inspector came out and did his thing, poking around with his probe and stuff into the fields, and decided that our slope is not optimum, and consequently the groundwater around the system, the existing one, is too much for the system to work correctly. So what he was requiring was like a French drain around the system to keep the groundwater outside of the leach fields from impeding into the system itself, so it wouldn't work as it should. So that was an extra cost, of course. So there was going to be a lot more digging to the system, and it had to daylight way out into the field. We had 14 acres here. Well, it's not all land. Four of the 14 acres is a lake, and of course the footprints of the building that we have, the house and the outbuildings. But regardless, we had to pay the extra to do the perimeter drain around the system. So that's what we ended up having to do. Here he's taking off the lid, look down in there. And as you can see, it's not pretty. And if we'd have known, being, you know, naive about the systems having to be serviced and flushed out every so many years, it was one of the first things I would have done when I bought the house. But, you know, it's just my own fault for not looking into it, I guess. And now he's replacing the lid after seeing what the system's looking like. Now he's going to put all the dirt back on top. And then this is where we discussed what's got to be done and how much about it's going to cost and when they could do it, things like that. says it's a 1,000-gallon holding tank, which is more than enough for 2 people living in the house. We don't, like I say, they size it for how many people are in the house and how many bathrooms you got and all that. We got 3 bathrooms, but there's only 2 of us living there. So he says the 1,000-gallon tank is plenty for our purposes. So basically what they're going to do, I told them obviously to go ahead and fix this and give me a new system. They're doing everything except the new tank. The tank is 1,000 gallons, like I said, it's concrete. So other than that, everything else is going to be new. The baffle is going to be repaired so it works properly. The solid line going out across the area behind this excavator here is going to go out across where they're parked there on that gravel and out into the leach field, and then all new leach fields plus the perimeter drain all the way around the system so it doesn't interfere with the working septics and leach fields. It's going to go, the solid pipe's going to go across this gravel out into that green area to the right of that white building. Starts there. This is where he was digging originally. It goes across the grass, across the gravel, and then starts out into that field where you see him walking. You can see the paint lines directing him to, that's the layout that the pipes are going to be. I think it was four rows. He's got a helper there showing him the depth, if he has to go deeper or not. I asked him while he was digging here, since we assumed that the leach field, the original leach field was still out there, did he hit it? Did he break through the old? Which, no big deal because we're replacing it anyway. And he said, oh yeah, and when I hit it, it was like a dam break and it was just flooded water all out, showing that it was not working as it should. It was plugged up and consequently made the water and sewage back up into the tank and then consequently go into the house. So it was definitely in need of doing this. Here's part of the backfill. You put the lines in, and then some gravel on top, and then dirt on top of the gravel. A lot of dirt. And I'll talk more about this dirt after they say they're finished, and I'd like to get your comments and see what you think. And you see the perimeter trench going around the areas in the center. That's the perimeter, excuse me, that's a perimeter drain that was required by the county. And for lack of a better term, it basically works like a French drain around your house. You had to go all the way around the septic system and then daylight way out into that field, which I'll show you earlier or later. There's black pipe inside those white insulated tubes. Yeah, like I said, it looks like four lines, and they loop back and forth. This is all done on very hot days. It's probably like mid 90s when the guy was doing this. I felt kind of bad for him because it was so hot and the work he was doing. Again, there's the aerial view of the perimeter drain going around the outside of the white pipes. That continues on. That's not where it ends. It continues on out into the field, which I'll show you later. We were hoping we didn't have to do this French drain system around the septic system, but the permit division required it, so there wasn't any way around it. Which is fine. I mean, I want it to work properly. Don't want to do it half-ass and go through this again. Word to the wise, if you are like us and you come from a city water system and you're not familiar with how septics work or anything about them at all, when you come to a place that's going to require a septic system because you're not on city water, during your negotiations and inspections and stuff prior to buying the property, bring up the subject of a septic system, how old it is, how big is the tank, when's the last time it was flushed, which we didn't do any of that, which is our fault. So I'm telling you, so if you do it, you'll be ahead of the game and hopefully not have to go through this. This is the perimeter French drain ditch going around the septic lines. Starts out deep, of course, and as it goes out to the field way out, as we're going out to it right now, it gets shallower and shallower until it daylights at the end for any of the water. Timing was kind of bad on doing this, but it had to be done, obviously. We had like 24 relatives and friends coming this weekend after this was done, like a family reunion memorial for my sister, that kind of thing. And we were hoping the yard wouldn't look like this, but there was no way around it. So still had a great time, but the yard looked like a war zone for a while. This is the long trench going out to the daylighted area of the perimeter drain. He asked me where I wanted the extra dirt that was going to be happening after all this digging. Because, you know, if you don't know, usually when you dig a hole, it seems to magnify the dirt volume to put back in the hole. And that's basically what happened here too. So anyway, I told him to put it over to the right there. You see that kind of dirty area over to the right, and put it in the area you just saw that I just passed. And we deal with that later because it was kind of a low area where we had lost a tree and had to dig it up and grind down the stump. So I wanted to get that filled in. And here it comes to the end here of the black pipe where it was required to put a 10-foot solid PVC pipe on the end and then daylight it down to the very end. And that's where the water would, you know, come out. And that's where it ended. He left it just like this. It was 200 and something feet of this extra perimeter drainage that we had to deal with. Obviously for an added cost. Now I want you to remember what this looks like right here with the dirt piled up on the right side of the trench, because I want to show you the end result and ask you your opinion at the end of this video. Now we're going to the left here, to the trench that goes around the starting of the septic system lines. Lots of dirt. Here's where it starts, where they ended at this point in the project. They were filling it up with some small gravel before they put the dirt on top. And in the area we just walked through, they haven't got to that part yet. That's just the trench being dug with a pipe in it at this point. Here is where the tank lid is again. This is where everything starts. And he's digging the trench from here across the gravel to the area where the septic tank hooks in. While he was doing this digging, you see the trench that's going to the right. They did not call 811. They did not inquire about any electrical. That gray conduit going across is our electrical power lines. And obviously, as I say, he didn't check and he broke through the lines. And I asked him if he called 811 and he acted like he didn't even know what that was. And TVEC, which is the Tennessee Valley Electrical Co-op, which were great, were called because all the power on our property, all the buildings, the house, everything was gone. And TVEC showed up pretty quick with a couple of trucks and about 5 guys and told me that electricians weren't going to be coming out because they don't allow them to touch their equipment, which was fine with me. I just wanted it fixed. And so they came out and told me that no, they're doing all the work. They're going to get me back fired up as soon as possible. And they were going to charge the contractor only about $3 a foot for the power lines. They were trying to be nice to him. So they got all that fixed, and without about been 2.5 hours, we got our power back on. Can't say enough about TVEC. They were great. And then the contractor now filled in all the lines that were dug up that you saw previously. And this is how he left it and said he was done. Getting back to TVEC, this is them running brand new cable lines underground from the house area. And this is an outbuilding that's just off the house. They're running this line through there, all the way underground here, across where they broke the line, all the way to the backside of that truck with the boom on it. That's quite a few hundred feet. But I got, the good thing, a silver lining was I got new cable lines for the power. This is the other end of where they're pulling that power from that building you just saw, all the way across the gravel, through the yard, over to this power box that's on our property. It's a green box. They said they normally have these boxes, smaller versions, on telephone poles. But this is, I guess, supposedly a high-end, nice box on the property that the previous owner had. Previous owner was a contractor himself, and he did everything really nice on this property. As you should. He went to the extra level.
Well, I've been better. What does this actually do, this box? Every house doesn't have this. Every house doesn't have this. Really? I've seen the neighbors' properties. I don't see a box like that.
Well, they're on pole out in front of the house.
Oh, okay.
Now this is fancy here.
I guess.
He was just telling me that this is a special box. It's not the norm, and that's because the previous owner, like I say, he wanted everything to be top notch. So he didn't cut any corners on building the house or improving the property. Now he's basically running that excavator back and forth, trying to flatten down and smooth the ground where he filled in all those pipes. And I don't know if it happened on this film, but he, obviously he dug there from the tank up to this gravel and across the gravel as well, and put solid pipes in there. This is some of the water that he ran into from the old system that had been backing up. And again, this is where he cut through the electrical line. They replaced the conduit and, as you saw, the new power lines. Okay, this is me driving along the perimeter ditch that I showed you, and according to them, they're done. Okay, this is how much dirt was left piled up after they refilled those ditches. I was expecting it to be a little smoother than this. It looks unfinished to me, even out here where he drove his excavator on it to flatten it down. I thought from other YouTubes that I've seen in septic tanks that none of them left it looking unfinished like that. I've had a dozen or so people come over, subcontractors, people doing other work, stuff like that, and they were asking me even, when are they coming back to finish? I said, according to them, they're finished. And everyone was kind of shocked. So I guess my question to you folks, and please put them in the comments, especially if you're familiar or ever had this done at your property. Is this a finished product? Is this the norm for them to say it's finished and it still looks like a war zone? I don't understand. They came out at my request, knowing my displeasure, and did try to smooth it down a little bit better than it was. And it did look better, but it still wasn't what I had seen on YouTube. And I had a friend that had a tractor, and he came over and smoothed it down to where it really looked nice. So again, I was just naive, and when they said they were finished, I just took it for that's the way they all are. But like I said, everything I saw on YouTube and people I talked to said there's no way that this is a finished job. So let me know. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is this finished? Is this normal? Thanks.